A young woman once ascended a 200 feet towering redwood tree and didn't touch the ground for 738 days. But this wasn't just any tree. It was Luna, a 1,500-year-old majestic giant redwood near Stafford, California, slated for destruction. Julia Butterfly Hill, then just 23, defied gravity and the logging industry in a daring act of protest that would change everything. What began as a short sit-in turned into an epic 2-year vigil. But how did she endure the storms, isolation, and relentless intimidation? Julia Butterfly Hill was inspired to climb the redwood tree, Luna, by a profound spiritual connection she felt with the ancient redwood forests of California. After surviving a near-fatal car accident in 1996, Hill reassessed her life and sought a deeper purpose, which she found among the towering redwoods. Her first visit to the forest left her overwhelmed by its beauty and wisdom, describing it as a cathedral that moved her to tears. Learning about the imminent destruction of these ancient trees, including Luna, compelled her to act and protect what she saw as sacred. From December 10, 1997 to December 18, 1999, Julia turned Luna into both her fortress and her prison. This wasn't just a stand for environmental preservation, it was a battle against time, weather, and corporate greed. Pacific Lumber Company, the powerful entity behind the logging plans, loomed large. Perched 180 feet above the forest floor on two cramped and tiny platforms measuring 6 feet by 4 feet, Julia faced biting winds, freezing nights, and even harassment from helicopters sent by Pacific Lumber Company. Supplies were hoisted up by supporters, but the challenges were relentless. What could drive someone to such extremes? Yet, her resolve never wavered. Julia survived the harsh conditions in the redwood tree Luna through a combination of resourcefulness, resilience, and support from her team. She lived on two small platforms, cooked on a tiny stove, and stayed warm by wrapping herself in a sleeping bag with just a small hole for breathing to retain body heat on freezing nights. Supplies, including food and water, were hoisted up by her ground crew via ropes. She endured freezing temperatures, torrential rains, and even 90 miles per hour El Niño winds that rocked the tree violently for hours, likening it to being on a storm-tossed ship, threatening to hurl her from her precarious perch. To stay dry during relentless rainstorms, she used tarps and waterproof gear provided by her support team. Pacific Lumber Company reacted aggressively to Julia's protest. They declared her a trespasser and attempted to intimidate her through various means, including blaring horns, shining floodlights, and cutting off her support crew's access to food and water for 10 days. They also felled trees dangerously close to Luna and buzzed her with helicopters, which violently shook the branches and her nerves, violating aviation safety regulations in a calculated attempt to intimidate her. She held on against this storm of challenges for 738 days. What happened next? Despite the odds, Julia didn't just survive, she thrived. Her treetop sanctuary became a stage, with her voice amplified through a satellite phone, drawing global attention to her cause. Radio stations aired her story, and admirers flocked to her side. Metaphorically, of course. Luna, the 1,500-year-old giant, stood tall and alive, a symbol of resilience. But the real question lingered. Was this truly the end of the fight, or just the beginning of something even greater? Julia's persistent resolve eventually forced the company to strike a deal in December 1999. Luna, and every tree within a 200-foot radius would be spared in exchange for $50,000. Victory was hers at last. Her descent marked not just the end of her tree sit, but the rise of an environmental icon whose story still inspires millions. Julia Butterfly Hill's 2-year stay in the redwood tree profoundly impacted her personal life, reshaping her values and perspective. The isolation and hardships she endured heightened her awareness of humanity's interconnectedness with nature, teaching her to live intentionally and appreciate every resource she used. This experience also deepened her spiritual connection to the earth, transforming her from a career-focused individual into a dedicated environmental activist. Julia described her time in the tree as a period of profound personal growth, marking her life as before tree, during tree, and after tree. Pacific Lumber Company, which was founded in 1863, ultimately went out of business in 2008. Coincidence? Maybe, or maybe not. What do you think?